C-Mac.
Before I go move like that, fuck that door like
What's up? What's good? Welcome to the Locked In podcast today. We're doing a legendary interview. We got Noah from Wangs Vintage. Man, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Do you know how much of an impact, like, you guys, you and your brothers just had on this state? You know, just even growing up seeing this was so much.
I mean, to reverse that, all of it has had an impact on us in a way, you know. I appreciate you saying that, though, for real, because it has been like, we were one of the first to like take the streetwear side and like the rare fashion side kind of seriously. So it is cool to see how far it's came since day one, you know.
I want to start off with your story. I want to start off with the beginning. Just tell me a little bit about your childhood. Did you grow up in Arizona?
Yeah, born and raised in Phoenix, West Phoenix too. Like born and raised, haven't moved out since. Yep, the trenches still over there. That's still the hood, like straight up. Graduated Apollo High School, if that gives you any realm of where I'm from. But yeah, growing up, I don't know. It was cool. You know, I went to Catalina Ventura for middle school up until which was just a public school. Met still friends with a lot of people from there, which is cool. But I don't know. Honestly, I think a big factor in like who I am was transferring in 5th grade. I went to this performing arts school called Bennett Academy. Super tiny school. It was K through 8, and there was maybe 800 kids in the entire school. And it was just super small, and they were, you know, real hands-on. There was, the art side of it was really developed. So, I don't know. I think going there kind of...
Was that your idea to go there?
No, not at all. It was actually my mom's, and it wasn't a nice school by any means either, but it was just small, and the teachers were a lot more, I guess, hands-on, and
it was more of a community.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a big public.
Exactly. And each grade, even like 1st and 2nd grade, had one teacher, and there was only one 1st grade class and and you shared one teacher, and they should, 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th shared Mr. Welch. When I was there, it was this tiny little Korean dude. Low key shout out him. Like it was crazy. The first day of school, our homework was to write the definition of discipline 100 times. And that definition has like 3 different definitions under that word, so you had to write all 3. It was messed up. That was the first day of school, just to give you insight on how this guy was. But yeah.
So were you kind of like pissed, like when you first had to write it, and then you just grew to like him?
Also, because we're part Korean on my mom's side, so I think that's why she chose the school, was because she liked the idea of a Korean teacher.
Right.
But yeah, first day of school, I was like, bro, what? Like, fuck this. Like, I'm over it. But I did it because I had to do it. He was literally, if you don't do this assignment, that's going to be an F for the semester. He goes, this is the most important assignment you've ever received. And at the time, I didn't get it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, why are you making us do this? But in a way, I think it literally instilled the idea of discipline. I can't recite it off the top of my head, but like.
But do you remember that story?
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. The fact of being up till 11 p.m. that night, hand cramping up, but knowing I had to finish it. So yeah, that I think was just an important keynote, and growing up was going to Bennett Academy. It was pretty cool, honestly.
At Bennett Academy, is that when you started to get into style and clothes, or when did that kind of transpire?
So Bennett was all uniforms. So we had to wear uniforms every day. Purple and yellow were our colors.
Could you swag out the belt?
You could swag out the shoes, and Mr. Welch especially made everybody tuck your shirt in, like, to be extra proper. So I would swag out the belt with like some vintage stuff I'd get from my dad at the time, but the belt and the shoes, and you couldn't wear hats. That was about it. And maybe the hoodie, because you could wear a jacket when it was cold. But honestly, I think because I had to wear a uniform, I went extra hard with fashion on the weekends, because I felt like I could never like fully express myself at school. So if there was a party, or like, or the free dress days, especially when we'd have Spirit Week and they're like, you don't have to wear your uniform today, I would come in something,
Oh yeah, because all the girls are there.
Hell yeah, and
I went to a uniform school for a little bit too, and I just vividly remember like, yo, I can swag out my belt and I can swag out my shoes. I'm finna get these. Remember like the Hot Topic studded belts?
Bro, yeah.
So I had like every one of those, and then just like Vans on Vans.
The different color, the multicolor studs.
Yeah, I used to take off the studs and like make letters out of it, all types of stuff.
Saying, see, because I don't know, when you're limited, in a way, looking back, I think it's cool, because like, really, you can't nobody was dressing nicer than the next kid. Nobody had more money than the next kid. We're all wearing the same thing. And I think that as a concept is kind of cool. And then again, it made me want to express myself, I think, in other ways than just clothing. So I think my introduction to fashion was not having it as a choice. You know, I've never. And
is that what made you get into it? Or like, when's like the earliest memory you were like?
I would say that. Well, I technically maybe 8th grade, because I transferred out of Bennett Academy because they got a whole new ownership and stuff. So I just wasn't vibing with it 8th grade. So I transferred from there to Horizon, which was another middle school, like a public school. And that was my, like, really it was like, well, we're going to school every day. You got to look fresh every day. Let's go shopping and like fine tune all this. And at the time it wasn't anything crazy. It was just like, I guess the most I cared at the time was just how it fit rather than what it was. Like, how does this fit on me? Do I feel comfortable? I didn't care about brand name or anything. You know,
just how you looked, basically.
Exactly, how it felt on me. Do I feel comfortable? But I don't know. I guess that was when I started dipping my toes in, and then I guess high school is when it really hit, where I was like looking at brand names and honestly looking at like Odd Future, and just being like, damn, these kids are dope. And they're all like, I don't know why, but they look fresh. And the Supreme, it was just so early, not knowing what Supreme even was. You were just looking at it as like it was like a beacon of like, that's hot. Like, that's cool. Whatever. Nobody has it at my school. Nobody had it anywhere in Arizona at the time. So it was also like, people know what it is, but nobody has it. So when you're the cat walking around with the time, just the Supreme camp hats, bro, that was like, people from across the school would see that because they were like, what? I thought that was only in L.A. or New York.
I think, like, that Tyler influence has such, like, a big influence over here to us because we're on the West Coast as well.
Totally.
So we relate so much. And when that come up, I just remember seeing the Yonkers video. That was the first piece of content I seen from him. And when he ate the cockroach and shit, I'm like, yo, this thing's crazy.
This is next level.
And then, like, the swag started coming out, and then he was funny. And then it was like, oh, like, I want to be just like him, bro. I want to be, like, dirty like him. Like,
and just not give a fuck. Like, and also have the homies, too. That was the main thing I thought was the coolest, was, like, how close Earl was and how Earl was, like, the little brother, and Tyler was this cool dude who could put on for all his homies, and Taco was just the funny dude, and like Jasper is just the funny dude.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see, like, I guess just the homies come up like that all together. And that was
mad young too.
Mad young, and just, but also really good at what they do. What's the line in Oldies? Not only are we talented, we're rad as fuck. And I was like, that, I just love that because it's true. You can't even get mad if someone's good at what they do, you know. So
I feel that. Was your dad a big influence on you as far as style? And because I know he's into vintage, am I right?
Well, totally. That's a whole, I mean, shoot, my dad, so just to give the background on that really quick if we're on the topic, my dad used to have a vintage clothing store back in the early 90s called the Blue Jean Buyer, and that focused primarily on like denim, leather, really that old 70s, 60s American Western style. And that was all he did. He sold, you know, in bulk to Japan. He had all these different buyers it was all Levi's though, you know. It was never, he had band shirts, but it was never like, nobody cared about him as much. So growing up around that, I guess that showed me that, you know, there's so many low-key, intricate garments out there that are valuable for a lot of different reasons. And Levi's showed me that because at first you're just looking at a blue pair of jeans. You know, you don't know any left or right. But then he starts pointing out the stitching pattern and, you know, the type of selvage. And he's like, that's what makes these $1,000 pair of jeans. And to me, that was crazy at the time because I'm like, why? Like, they got jeans everywhere. But I don't know. It just made me appreciate the intricacies of certain garments, you know, and how one minute detail can make it the most valuable or the most important pair just based on age. That's what it was the older it was, the better it was. And that goes for anything, you know. If you want to collect art, you want the most original version of that artwork. Ideally, if you're collecting records and music, you want the most original, as close to release date as possible. And I don't know. So that went for everything.
Was his shop in Arizona?
Yeah, it was. It's where Wangs Closet is actually.
Oh,
so that's man.
Oh,
so
what the fuck?
Not only did he inspire I mean, just style and importance in us, but he showed us that, like, you can make money if you, like, put your shit in a shop and run it and do it and be a good guy, too, because that's the blue jean buyer. People loved my dad. He was such a chill dude. You just go and chop it up
shipping
with
to
him.
Japan, too. I could see,
Yeah,
like,
so,
Levi's, like, were probably so big, and he was
Bro,
probably making...
that was our bread, but that's how we paid our bills back in the day. My mom took care of us. Shout out my moms. And my dad was hustling everything, though, like jewelry, leather boots, certain little toys and trinkets. You know, I just learned so much. I learned that you can't discount anything. Like any one item can be worth something to somebody in a way. So, but also he showed me to just buy the things you like, and I don't know. It attracts cool people in a way.
So it's safe to say that was like a big impact.
Huge. He quite literally birthed us. Like,
yeah.
You know, and on the hustler mentality too. He showed us.
That's
like,
what I'm thinking. Like, it's like
everything, bro. It's all been my, you know, style down to the way I wear my pants. It's all my dad. Like how they sit, the flow of them. For sure. Shout out that dude. We literally would not be here without him.
Do you guys have any vintage pieces from there? Like,
oh yeah,
or like some signs.
I still, yeah, the neon sign over there.
There it is.
Blue jean buyer.
Sick.
That's OG from the 90s, and it's still running. That's real neon too, which is kind of tight. But
oh yeah, we got to capture that.
Yeah, man. It's so for sure. I mean, goes without saying. But and now we were actually able to buy the business off of him too when we started Wangs Closet in 2015, 2016, we actually paid him out and just bought the book of business off of him as well as his lasting inventory. Paid him a grip too, I'll say that. Like we definitely
showed Pop some love.
Hell yeah. And because he had been hustling in that shop every day for the last 20 years, you know, and granted, it's funny because I always say too when I talk to his old customers.
Oh, wow, so you get the same old customers
for
too.
Sure.
This
bro.
Is such a big
he
story.
Was such a good, yeah, it is a really big story, honestly, and there's so many angles to come at it from. But I always say, like, I appreciate my dad for having done what he did for the last 20 years. But as soon as we really came in and we're working the shop, I was like, bro, like, you've been chilling like hard. You've been just same old shit. I'm like, I know you just smoking bowls in the bathroom and talking to, you know, like So I'm over here thinking he's all working hard. I'm like, dude, it's not to say it's hard work. I would say it's more mentally draining than actually physically draining. But
is anyone safe to say that? I mean, you bought the business from him and you're like running the business.
Exactly. I can totally say. But bro, yeah, it was funny because just my whole childhood, because my mom was, you know, working insurance and this and that. So when we came in, I would say it's not hard work, it's important work. You know what I mean? And that was the lesson I learned is while he wasn't breaking his back out here, he was like still making some groundbreaking work for Arizona. I think a lot of what's happening in Arizona has to do with his shop too. Like that was the earliest example of a culture shop in a way was the blue jean buyer for sure. It was like a beacon.
I mean, I think if you were to pick a random fashion kid out of downtown right now, like we would think Wangs, like for us, you know what I'm saying? Like
at least
we don't even know about this story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So it really boils to that.
Bro, and there's old footage, there's old images. There's a project in the works where I really want to document and organize the origin because it's a long story, man. It's you know, he's met Morrissey, like he's talked to dudes from ZZ Top, he's met so many different real like people who just come in based on interest in his shop and his aesthetic.
We damn near need the Pops interview.
I know, bro. Like honestly, what he would love that. He also is so humble. He's like it's whatever.
Yeah,
doesn't want to get into it, but he's an OG for sure.
Can you talk to me a little bit about you and your brother's relationship and just like how that was going up? Like were you guys tight? I got my brother
honestly,
with me today.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, we weren't tight because we were kind of far apart. We were 7 years apart. So, I mean, you know, he was 13 and I was, that makes me 8. So it was always like he was a teenager and I was still like a little kid. And even in the adult years, he was 18 and I was 11. So it was never like we were in that same wave of like being able to hang out. Whereas me and my younger brother Ian here, we're 5 years apart, but we feel a lot closer. Like we feel like I'm almost living in the same generation as him.
Okay.
But Nate was always, you know, he was just always doing his thing. He was hustling in some way. Like, you know, that story goes pretty deep. But No, he was always hustling, and he was always providing for not only us but his family and his friends too. And again, I think loyalty and just that loyalty and trust goes the furthest with me and my family, or my family and I and my brothers, because I don't know, that's all you got in the end of the day. Like, if you can't trust the people you're surrounding yourself with, you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? That's the first thing you need to get out of the way. So I always recognized he was truly my older brother. Like, he was out of the house. He was never home. I'd sneak into his room to go look at what he's doing. Like, literally that mid-90s. You ever see mid-90s?
Yeah,
Hill?
The skate show.
That opening scene where he's looking at his brother's music and he's not supposed to be.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yep, for sure. But as we got older, he ended up, through a unfortunate series of events, he ended up having to live with us for a little bit with his, at the time, girlfriend. She's his wife now, and their newborn child, Owen, my nephew. They had to move back into the crib, me and my parents. I was in high school at the time, and at this time, you know, I had been grown since me and him had really been that close. I had been, you know, I smoke weed now, you know, I'm going to parties, I'm kind of my own person, and now we're getting to know each other almost, you know, because he's moved back in, we're living together, and it's kind of like how it was, because when we were younger, we shared a room and stuff, but he started seeing what I was doing, and I was hustling on my own. I really liked Supreme at the time, and there wasn't any out here, so I was just buying and flipping it at my high school.
This is the same kind of time frame, like Tyer The Creator days?
Yeah,
like...
totally. This was like, I fucking hate you video or whatever, where he's wearing the light blue box logo.
Oh, okay, with the red.
That's what it was. I'm pretty sure that's the video. But quote me or change that if I'm wrong. But I told my brother, because it was in a way a hustle. It was just a flip. It was, you know, get it from the dude for the low and flip it to them for the high a little bit. And that was, you know.
So where'd you guys first start buying these pieces?
All online. It was all, you know, we were either on drops, because that was the thing. It was funny. Supreme, like, it was so rare, but nobody knew you could just get it on the website. Like, it was.
So you were hidden.
You know what I mean? Like, everyone was like, "Oh, I'll never get it." I'm like, "Bro, there's a website. They restock." So we were just hitting, and we were also on Depop a lot, and that was just buying older
I didn't
peep.
know Depop was that.
It was it was early Depop, and it was our only way of kind of ordering stuff secondhand from out of state, and even having access to it, because there were like certain New York exclusive items, and there was, you know, LA exclusive items. So that's how we started getting the rarer Supreme. It wasn't just the GR, whatever dropped that week. It was like years old. And you would get it for the low too, because there wasn't a crazy resale at the time. Like, you could find steals. You could find North Face jackets on Depop back in the day for like $150. Like the North Face Supreme, just because people were like, eh.
Yeah.
And we would flip them out here, and we started on Depop as our first selling platform, but it was really when we started our OfferUp page, because that started reaching out to locals only, you know, and that's how we gained a local following, was only OfferUp, because it only pulled up 10-mile radius of, you know, oh, this dude down the street from me has a Supreme bag. Let me go over to his crib and chop it up.
And there's only so many people that are into that.
So. You know? It started being like, it was called, I called it Wangs Closet, and that's a whole other story, because it was just our closet. People would just come through the crib. We'd tell, hey, Mom, like, somebody's coming by the house. They're going to look at some stuff real quick.
What was the name of the OfferUp? Is this your actual name?
It was just Wangs Closet. It was
Wangs
just
Closet.
Because,
okay.
yeah, well, because we had the Depop before, and I think it was Wang Company at first was just a streetwear brand that we tried to start real quick, and, you know, just embroidered T-shirts with a little logo. And Wang technically stands for Wake and Grow, which is, not a lot of people know that. It's not technically an acronym, but... Oh,
so it's not your last name?
No. Our last name is Vizera, and Wang is actually I know. Wang is a Chinese name. So the story with Wang, because we're Korean.
Break that down.
So yeah, the story with Wang is my brother in high school. He looks a lot more Asian than I do, and than Ian does. He's always got more of the Asian Korean gene. And again, we're Korean. But the first day of school somewhere, he sat down next to this dude and was like, his dude's like, yo, what's your name? And he goes, Nate. And the guy goes, Wang? And he's all, no, I said Nate. And he goes, nah, Wang. And because he looked Asian, and it's kind of like almost a racial slur in a way, because it's truly
that would happen these days?
Oh, like, it would be like, bro, you can't call me Wang.
It would have been a whole
Because
thing.
technically that's a Chinese name, and we're Korean. but it kind of stuck, and it was kind of funny.
Did he kind of like laugh at it at the time?
Yeah, totally, because they're
cool.
Still homies to this day,
Okay.
and he was just messing with them. So Wang stuck, and then we kind of turned that into the wake and grow mentality, because it was just, our positive outlook was you wake up and you do something, you grow, literally you grow something, or you grow your brand or your idea or whatever, you just grow as a person.
Right.
And so we started to try to make t-shirts and hoodies and, hats, and it was not easy because, there's no money involved. It was just an idea. And that's about the time that I was reselling Supreme on my own, and I was like, yo, dude, the whole idea, the whole mission statement at first in a way was to curate rarities and put our stuff on the rack next to them. Because if you look at Supreme, they put their shirt on Kate Moss because Kate Moss is famous. You know what I mean? And then Supreme's famous because Kate Moss is wearing it. They were the first, or Tyer The Creator wearing Supreme. I call it fame by affiliation. So my idea was, why don't we
placement?
Placement. Put yourself with exactly. Put yourself with the good people or the good shit
or the good stores.
And get your name affiliated and associated with.
But that's
those
a smart
things.
way of thinking. Not too many people would like at that time. Kids are thinking of like, how can I get my T-shirt on ASAP Rocky?
Yeah,
like, you're not going to find ASAP Rocky.
But
building a business and then selling 6 shit in there.
Yep,
you put your clothes.
Yeah, and that was loosely the idea, because it was also, we were like, bro, how do we make our own brand hot? Like, what's the idea? And
so were you guys really like having these conversations, you and your brother, like in the room?
For sure. They were also inner monologues with myself, because I've always, I was in DECA in high school too, which was a business club. So we just did a lot of like analyzing markets and like being like, all right, why does this work? And why does this work right now as opposed to 10 years from now or 10 years prior? So I was always thinking, bro, I think like a million miles a minute. But that's when we were doing Wang, and for the business itself, I was just like, how can we make this hot? Like, because I was wearing Supreme, and I'm like, why do I, as a kid, like, why don't I like Wang Company, but I like Supreme? Like, I was just hitting myself with the basic questions. I'm like, it's because Kate Moss is wearing Supreme, and it's because ASAP and Odd Future. I'm like, okay, well, what if my shit was on the same rack? Let's take a step back. How do I get in their face rather than on their person? And so it was just reverse engineering in a way. But once we started reselling hard, it was kind of like, bro, like, I don't really care about starting our own brand. Like, this shit's working. Popping, like, this shit's popping. Like, I ain't even. And then also it's an ego thing. Like, I've never been interested in being I'm a salesman for sure, like, just by nature. But I've never liked having to sell my actual ideas. Like, having to be like, yo, I made this. This is dope. I like having things speak for themselves. I like when people buy things without having to ask me a question, without having me to say anything about it. That's when I know it's a good item. That's when I'm like, all right.
It sells itself.
Yeah, it sells itself. And I would love for my stuff to be like that, but that's kind of why we stopped. I wasn't interested in the cat and mouse game of hype streetwear. It's
so
always
offer-ups popping right now. You guys are like, yo. So what's the next idea? You're like, we need a physical store? Or at the time, there's internet. So like, I know you guys are thinking about that.
We were popping on we were doing OfferUp, and that was awesome. We were killing it on Depop, and that was our way of shipping items out and our first e-commerce. And around that time was when we were like, well, we should probably start an Instagram just to have like a separate platform of communication and just to start doing. That was the thing. This was when, again, this is like 2015. Instagram wasn't that crazy, it wasn't necessary. But that's when we treated that as the archive of, all right, let's post our collection. Like, let's flex on Instagram and be like, yo, we got all of this. Instead of just 1 or 2 items, it would be like 13 items. And we're like, yo, come by the crib, come by Wangs Closet and shop. And that's when fools on Instagram, people who were serious about buying with us, would follow that to be really connected and be like, hit it before, Depop. And dudes would come to the crib, we would do trades, and it's just started, we realized this is becoming, basically we need to get out of our mom's living room. That's what we realized.
Is that what Pops is saying at the time too?
Well, that's what we were saying, our mom was saying. My mom would be like cooking bulgogi in the kitchen. Bulgogi's a Korean dish, and it would always stink up the house like crazy. And fools would be coming by like, yo, like, what's going on? I'm like, mom's cooking dinner. And not that, because we love our mom, but I'm like, it's probably about time we switch up the transaction flow. You know what I mean? And so my dad still had the shop. And our first step after the Instagram was then just throwing a table up in front right on the porch, where it's same setup as we have now, but we threw up a table. And I remember I brought my little TV. It was actually that TV, that same exact TV. And I
at Wangs Closet.
Yeah, this was way back in the day. And this wasn't even inside. We were like, yo, Pops, let us just set up a table. We're going to post a thing on Instagram and offer up. People will come through. Like, let's just see what happens. Because we live West Phoenix at this time. So Wangs Closet was in the West Phoenix. And my dad's shop at the time, which is now Wangs Closet, was Scottsdale and McKellips. And we were just like, what's the vibe out there? What would happen if we set something like this up? Because locals in Phoenix, kids at my high school, point being, like, Apollo High School, not a lot of kids wanted to spend $100 on these items at the time or anything. It just, we're broke high school kids. And
I'm sure I couldn't imagine myself spending $100
even me, I wasn't. I couldn't. My hustling thing was just like, well, if I sell these 2 shirts, I get to keep this one for free. And and that's how so that was my mentality.
Like when you sell weed and you get to keep a little bit.
To break it down, like, let me just say there's a lot of coincidental comparisons with the hustle. But deadass, you would sell enough weed so you would have some free weed to smoke, like, straight up. And then that just grew and obviously became a lot more than that. But no, we set up in front of my dad's shop. I remember I was playing skate videos on this TV. Ain't shit changed. Like, we still do that every day. But
so how do you go about, like, authorizing the pieces and, like, making sure they're real, especially at that time? Because, like, I mean,
taking an L is the best way to learn, because you're like, bro, I'll tell you the first L we took, because I remember, bro, because we thought we were loaded. We were like, we just hit, bro. we had never had box logos before, bro. Box logos back in the day.
This is when you guys had the physical location?
This was before, still when we're still at Closet, or we're still at the crib.
Literal closet.
And literal back in the day closet. And I remember we bought 4 or 5 box logo hoodies for like $1,500, which back then was a lot. When, like, we were $1,500 on stock too, was like, all right, this is our profit right now. This is the re-up. Let's buy these hoodies and we're gonna sell them for $500 a piece, and we're gonna make a rack profit, or whatever the math would be. Mm-hmm. And we got them, and we soon found out they were all fake, just from posting them on IG and
people commenting. Because people are telling you.
Totally, because we had a lot of connections with, like, collectors who would hit us up knowing we sell.
True.
And I remember, and then they would send me forums and comparison pictures, and I couldn't even deny it, because I could see it. I was like, well, they're right. That is different than that, and that is fake. Like, I can't even kid myself. And this was, again, we had to just eat that, because it was somebody, friends and family, gifted. Like,
so it was all 5 of those hoodies?
Yeah, all 5 of them were fake, bro. And they were good fakes, like, dead ass. Like, it was just coming down to stitching, and I could get into the details of telling a fake box logo.
Can you, real quick?
Bro, no, because it depends on the year. It depends on the shirt, like how, the hoodie. Okay. The feel, it literally, dude, there's so much. And I used to know. I was like a little Rolodex of, this one's 2012. It shouldn't have that tag. And the wash tag is too big. Or, this ink is too dark black. It was.
You're like a walking, like, Reddit forum.
Bro, I had to be, because after that was like, hell no. Hell no. Like, we were like, fuck this, bro. Like, we just took a fat L. I'm good. Like, we don't even need to mess around. But I was like, nah, we can figure this out and get it down. Because I'm like, remember how stoked we were when we thought they were all going to be real? I'm like, what if they all were and we could make that money? Or
very positive thinking. That's a trend.
You have to just eat, bro, out here. And I have a pile of fake shit in the back. To this day, it happens, know, and not usually through me. Sometimes it's an employee slipping up or getting too confident in the buying process. But basically, attention to detail, trust your instinct, and know who you're buying from. And even in that case, do an invoice or something that's, because once it's gifted payment, the dude with the hoodies, he blocked us. He just removed us. There was even the bank was like, well, sorry, you just bank transferred this guy. Like, they were like, you shouldn't do that to people you don't know. And I'm like, true.
Wow. So was there any other ups and downs, like while you guys are just before Wangs Vintage starts? Like,
yeah, there is. Well, there's a long gap before Wangs Vintage, bro. Because
Right.
Wangs Closet, Wangs Closet was Wangs Vintage in a big way. It was just a lot smaller. And the ups and downs, I mean, I don't really remember there being any downs other than like just upsetting employees who end up having ulterior motives throughout, you know, the course of things, which in hindsight, you can't even hate people for plotting to do their own thing. Like, in the end, I cannot hate on that. If, you know, you as men, as entrepreneurs, as creatives, as even women entrepreneurs, to cover that, you don't always want to be the employee. You want to be the boss at some point. So I would say the only downs is kind of just dealing with mistrust and being like, damn, bro, like I thought we were down for this and you were in it for the long run. But other than that, bro, downs.
nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
That's something that I've learned too from just like working at 151. Like having a storefront and you being like the owner of that storefront, you're introducing literally like everyday people into your life. You know, like anybody can come and almost like disrupt your life. Like somebody can come in here and like, I mean, how that window got broken.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying? Now you have to go deal with that. And then especially like with having employees, like now you're really entering them like in your life and stuff.
And
so
they're not just employees, because a lot, especially at this location too, the people who I have over here, with the way I like to do business, they got to be cool. I'm not just gonna hire you if you're good at your job anymore. Like I have this thing, even towards myself. This is the standards I carry myself to, as well as friends. But it's not good enough nowadays to just be really good. You got to be cold with it too. You know, like straight up. You can't just do a really good job. You got to also throw some steez and something interesting. So like with anything, with people I'm collabing with possible employees.
Is that just because there's so many people doing so many things now?
Yeah, and everybody's good at everything they do. Like, you know, well, not everybody, but anybody who's a main contender, we're all kind of on the same level. So I'm looking for the cats that are really like doing that extra, like something to really catch my eye. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, but also that's just because you got to be careful, because it's like, it's funny, but it's like trust issues with like a lady or something. When an employee or a homie who you thought was down kind of disrupts it, then you're like, damn, bro, well, now going forward, I'm going to be a lot more careful with who I'm hiring. And yeah, but that's just something you learn along the way, is how to hire and who to hire.
Right.
And people say don't hire homies, but if they're real homies, they're the best employees you can ever have. Like,
and you can like weed some of the homies out. Like,
well, totally, bro. That's another thing. Because if you can't like I spend every day with my younger brother sometimes. Not every day, but when he's here, we spend all day. And that's like my best friend. Like some people would, you know, get tired of it or not even want, you know, like, oh, I'm not trying to hang out with my brother. I love my brothers, both of them. I wish I could hang out with my older brother more, but he's a family man, dude.
He's doing his thing.
He's got another baby on the way too. He is living his life. He's doing his thing. But yeah, that's another way to hire, is like, can I spend all day with you and still laugh at the end of the day? Can I not get tired of you? And if the answer is yes, you're more than welcome to hang out and help me out at the shop, like straight up.
That's sick. I think, mistake me if I'm wrong too. I think I seen a story, you guys, I don't know who had posted it, but I know you guys are all like real close knit around here, but you guys all got little W chains, like little Wang chains.
Hell yeah. Totally,
that is so sick.
Yeah. I'm not wearing mine right now, but well, honestly,
was like almost like a celebration for everybody.
It was also like finally like, yo, this just an appreciation thing for all the homies. But before that, and the real Wang OGs, we all have the Gucci Ghost. It's a tiny Gucci Ghost, but back in the day, this was like 2016, I think they came out. That was the first time like the squad all got the same. Like we rolled through. It was actually my older brother who did it. You
guys bought it all from the store?
Yeah, we just cashed out Gucci, and they were all matching with the Gucci chain, and that was it. That's the homies had that, and in a way, that was the only uniform, was just, you know, the guy with the Gucci Ghost will help you out or whatever, because everyone looks like they work at the shop if you're in the shop. Like, you know what I mean? But
That's funny.
But yeah, then the Ghost turned into the W for all the new cats that we have on, and But yeah, the Gucci Ghost era. I wore that shit every day for like 5 years straight up, bro.
That was a big thing too during that time. I think that's when like Alexander was
yeah, or I forget, but the whole Dapper Dan era, like that was when Gucci was going streetwear. Like it was very in your face, but yeah, it definitely spoke for the time.
So when did Wangs Vintage officially start? When did you like come to your brother and you're like, yo, I want to do this? Or is that how it went down?
No, not even. Honestly, bro, I was like borderline not even on board at the time because honestly, bro, I know. Thank God. Shout out my brother because it was also because this space opened up. He called me and he sent me the pictures. He goes, yo, like look at your phone. There's this space on 7th Street. He's like, it's big, but it's awesome and it's street view. 7th Street's super busy. It's right next to Buffalo Exchange too. It was just the location was too good to pass up, and the deal was really good too.
During this time, were you guys already kind of looking for other opportunities here and there?
Like things were really good at Closet, and we had things rocking. Things were still are really good, but we knew we had some room to play around with, and we knew we wanted to do something else.
To wake and grow.
Yeah, wake and grow. We didn't want to stop growing. And we were really quickly outgrowing that one location because if you've ever been to Wangs Closet, anybody watching, it's pretty small. It's very small, but it gets the job done. Granted, we knew we needed to move out at some point. So it was stars aligned, straight up. We saw the space. I was telling him, I was like, I don't know, bro.
Whose idea was for like the vintage store? Why not like a Wangs Closet too?
We always did vintage. We've always had vintage in our hearts and in our shop. But really, honestly, it was back in the day. We didn't have much room at Wangs Closet. But it was so hard to turn down good pieces because we're like, bro, I don't have any room on the rack. I can't even put this out. But it's a dope piece. Like, whatever, I'll buy it. And we throw it into a box in the back of the shop. And we did that for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And we quickly realized we had a storage unit full of vintage that we're just sitting on. And we were like, bro, we got to, like, it would make more sense to open a shop rather than just keep sitting on this inventory for no reason. So it's kind of just because we had all this stockpile and we were ready. We knew we were ready. And it was never a plan, but I think subconsciously we were doing that in preparation for whenever the right time would present itself or the right opportunity.
But so when it comes to selecting and buying like vintage pieces, what do you look for? Like what makes something that you want to buy versus something you don't want to buy? Because you have to have a keen eye. Like it's all about the curation. You guys have a big selection.
For sure.
So that means
I would say my buying tactics have changed over the years because I've just met so many different people. I've met kids who are diehard comic book fans and anime fans. I've met dudes who are like huge sports fans and who've given me insight and like information about some of the most legendary sports teams and all these statistics. Point being, you meet so many different people that you almost realize you have to buy everything because especially with the exposure we have now, everyone comes in, whether it's the sports fan or the anime fan or the heavy metal fan or the grunge fan, whatever it is, we have to have a spot for them because if not, then they're going to feel excluded, and it's also a missed opportunity on connections and sales. So it's really just getting to know what people like over the years, and I think that's one thing we have that not a lot of shops have is just that experience of, we've been doing this for a very long time. It's like 7 years now almost. And I'm almost at the 10-year mark of like really doing this, but yeah, it's experience and just knowing like, all right, that's cool. And knowing what to price things at. Like I am not going crazy in here. And if there's a crazy price on something, it's definitely because that's just what that thing goes for online. But this rack right here, this is like my $20 to $30 rack. It's all random stuff, but it's all dope stuff too. Like just the everyday throw on, you know what I mean?
And then you still thrift yourself. Like I didn't even imagine that you would still thrift, but just from conversations before the pod.
Yeah, dude. I honestly like that's way my therapy because that's what I used to love to do was like being out there, literally hunting for treasure in a way. I say thrifters are like pirates, bro. We're all like, we're getting in our car and we're like, all right, let's go to this Goodwill and see what we can find. Like, It's therapeutic, bro. I'll smoke a bowl, throw some headphones in, and just tear up a Goodwill for, well, not even for long. I pride myself on being fast. Like,
fast now. What are the first sections you hit? You go t-shirts,
man,
or you
I
just?
can't. I can't. I
that's the
mean,
sauce?
well, not really, because I don't. Let me put it this way. I do not touch the t-shirt rack, not even once when I'm there. That's like my one moral with thrifting, because also it's almost a conflict of interest. And like when I see my sellers, people who sell me my stock at thrift stores, they're always like, yo, what up? But it's always kind of like, what you doing here? Like, come on, like, you know, like, you don't need to be here. Like, I'm gonna bring you this shit anyway.
See, I'm like a lone like thrifter. I don't know, like the culture crazy.
Totally, man. But and honestly, that's maybe even, if anything, that might just be an insecurity thing with me. I don't know if they actually think that. But I would kind of think that. I'd be like, bro, get out of here. Like, fucking, this is my thrift. And I get it. But let me just say, the things I buy at thrift stores and the things I actually thrift, nobody else is thrifting. And it's because I know what I'm doing with a lot of the equipment. And it's a lot of electronics that are like very niche things that I need. But yeah, I don't touch. And if I do grab something, it's always just something that I'm going to wear. I'm not interested in, I mean, but best believe if I find a Tupac rap style at the Goodwill, I'm going to buy it. You know what I mean? Like, that hasn't happened in a long time, but.
So I want to talk about trends a little bit. Do you see any like trends going on now, or do you feel like you almost buy so much that it's just like, damn, bro, it's just almost everything?
Again, trends are based on the group you kick it with, bro. Like, a lot of my cool people who come in and buy band t-shirts are like goth kids, you know what I mean? And they have their own swag that's changing within that group, you know? And you also have, you know, your overall trends of like, you know, NASCAR shirts being hot for a couple months or wrestling tees being hot for a couple months. But for the most part, you can't even just buy it. It'll all come back around. John Mayer actually said in an interview with Kerwin Frost, he said you can't.
That was such a good interview.
Bro, John Mayer's dope. Like,
yeah, he's fire.
I'll say he's a little crazy, but I like the dude. He's a real dude. He's a real for sure. But what did he say? He was like, you can't chase you can't chase cool, because by the time you catch it, it's, you know, it's done a 180 and it's back to where you were, but you've already changed and now you have to change back. So just stay true and buy the things you like, because it'll always come back around. You know what I mean? The classics do not go out of style, and I stand by that.
Makes sense. So when it comes to authorizing vintage pieces, like, there's a lot of reprints out here. Is that a lot easier than authorizing a box logo, like, or not necessarily a box logo, but anything like streetwear?
It really, really depends on the piece, and I would say it's harder. It's way harder because a lot of the things people are reprinting are bootlegs. Like, the most expensive items on the wall over here are all, we can cut to like B-roll, but like, it's all like bootleg, like that R. Kelly shirt. It's a crazy shirt. Obviously, it's like, you know, but that's not officially licensed to R. Kelly or anybody from that team. That was like a fan who made that. And because of that, the print style isn't the most professional, and there's a lot of room for error. So when people but also those are the most expensive because they're the rarest, finding those. So when people are replicating stuff like that, it does get hard because it's not like a box logo that's going to be the exact same every single time, and any difference will let you know. It's more like you have to feel it and know what vintage ink feels, smells, and stretches like. Like, if it doesn't crack or if it's got too much of a rubbery feel, it really, again, experience. Like, it kind of, you just got to know what a vintage shirt feels like and what somebody trying to fake one would try to make it feel like. Right. Not only are there reprints, but there are fakes, you know, like where they reprint the tag and they fade it to make it look old. Like,
they do the whole thing.
Yeah, they do the whole thing to make it look like a $2,000 shirt instead of, you know, because I'll sell some reprints for cheap. You know, I'll sell a $20 Nirvana tee that was, you know, reprinted in the early 2000s. But that's a different thing than selling fake. Than a complete fake where it's faking the tag and faking the licensing. That's where it gets a little like sketchy, you know. You got people trying to get over on people, and then I don't even want to sell those for the low, because I know they're just going to go back into the circulation and somebody's going to get scammed, and that's no fun.
You're here for the community.
I am, bro. The community, I would be nothing without Arizona, the community, the culture. So I got to watch its back, bro, because there's a lot of people who are not. They're here for a quick buck, and they're here to, I don't know. I don't think some people's intentions, I just don't think are the best. And you got to watch what you're doing, because once you do one thing, like, honestly, the reprints, there's modern bootlegs is what it's called, and it's basically new artwork but made to look vintage, and people are trying to normalize, which it's fine because it's new artwork, but it just starts confusing the game, because it's like, how come this one's $60 and that one's $500?
Oh, so now it's fucking,
you know, it's kind of just like, what's the difference? And obviously the $500 one's older, but I don't know. I don't do that in here because it's not vintage. One, things printed nowadays I try not to sell. It's got to be at least 15 years old in my mind. But
so I left Arizona for a little bit, right? I went to the military for 5 years and then came back. And then now I see all these like vintage stores everywhere. I'm not even 100% sure if maybe Wangs Vintage started before I left. But anyways, like, there's a big community now.
There is.
What are your thoughts like on that? Like, I see you guys even doing like Wangapalooza. We can get into that.
Well, again, like, I pride our shop on just being for the community, like you said, and for the people. And because of that, I will like unapologetically put people on to game. Like, straight up, I will let you know what sells, what doesn't, what you should be buying things for. I'm an open book because, you know, I wish I had somebody like me when I was hustling. And honestly, shout out Sean Wotherspoon from Round 2, because back in the day, I did sit down with him long before Wangs Closet, just on a trip to LA, and he just got real with me. He was just like, bro, just do it. He's like, just do it. If you open it, and he's like, I know Arizona, nothing's happening out there like that. Just do it.
Caught him like
I just caught him on a good day, on a good moment where he had time to sit down. And my dad was with me too, because we were out there family trip, and my dad was like, oh, they buy vintage, let me take some shit. So they were talking, and then, you know, I got into the conversation. So really, it's just good to have people who are genuinely like just open about how to make it and how to do certain things. And I don't know. Just golden rule. Golden rule life, man. I'm an open book. If you got a question, come ask me. Come holler at me. I'll give you my honest opinion. If your shit's whack, I'm going to tell you your shit's whack. Like, guaranteed. At least in my opinion. If it's great, I will gas you up because as a, you know, creative or an artist or whatever, those moments like can mean the world. Just giving that kid a little extra push. I'm like, hey, bro, that's fire. Make more. I want to see it. Like, oh, word, like, bet.
Because I'm sure that's how Sean made you feel, like,
in a way, where he just broke it down and was like, bro, just do it. You could. The fact that he was like, you could do it. I was like you. I didn't have any money in high school. Like, I had to hustle the same way, like, just to get clothes that weren't from. It's funny because back in the day we were doing this to get out of the thrift store, and now we're like right back into the thrift store. You know, we didn't want to be hitting the Goodwills and the Value Village. We wanted the clean Supreme tee, but yeah, full circle. Right. Again, do not chase cool because fucking.
Well, you kind of said that in the beginning, like you always just been into like how it fits you and like more of like the style.
Because I had to. I was at the thrift store, so I didn't really have choices of what brand I wanted. All I had was what feels good, which shirt feels the best. You know, what jacket is cool, and that's why even back in the day I was going to vintage shirts because the cotton was better and the flannels were better. The jeans fit better and they lasted longer, so you didn't need to re-up as much. But yeah, man, I don't know. Yeah. I just try to be what I would want for the community, because I do see a lot of young kids in here, like a lot of kids I've watched grow up, and I'm happy to watch some of them like go on to do anything at all, you know. So
sick. So what's your vision with the Wangapalooza? I feel like this is a newer thing that's been going on. There's probably, have you done it maybe like 6 times? Maybe
yeah, I would say 5 or 6. I've honestly lost count. But so flea markets are there are a lot of flea markets. And they're all great. We have Pickers Playground out here. We have Ivory House now. The meat market.
Got AB in the building.
Oh shoot! What I was gonna have to. Hey, we're closed. Hey, we gotta go. Nah, but there are a lot of markets out there now, and honestly, I think that's a huge thing for the community because it's kind of inviting everybody to just do it together. Again, there's no like big broing people out here. It's like, bro, if you're out here hustling vintage or anything, we are all on the same level. Like we are all still in the mud, hustling, and we can all throw our flavor in, but we're all in it together basically. And that's why I like the flea markets, is because anybody who's at our markets are truly our friends. Like it's people we'll break bread with. Like we're not trying to, no, those are our sales. Or it's like, nah, let's do it together. So I've loved throwing them for that reason. Brings people out. It's good for business. It's good for my friends' businesses, and it's fun. It's a change of pace, you know. But
is there a lot of like weird tension with like the vintage world? Like, man, maybe per se you're not like so much into it,
bro,
but like,
to be honest, like I
feel like there's so many now.
I mean, there are a lot. I don't know any of them, and by choice. Like right. You know, business is business, and I try not to get too close with anybody that I'm truly breaking bread with, because then there's expectations and just weird vibes. My best friends, the cats I go out to get a beer with at the end of the night, they're not in this at all. They're like in construction or, you know, nursing or whatever. They get, you know, and it's a breath of fresh air because I don't have to talk about blah, 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 said this about prices or whatever. And it's just, it's more peaceful for myself to just not be in it as much. When I'm here, I'm working. When I'm not here, I'm trying not to be on my phone. I'm not trying to be on the hashtags or all that. I'm
talking about clothes all day. No, I feel you.
No, I'm trying to like go hike and take photos or like go see some live music or something, man. You got to take breaks. You cannot be all in all the time.
So I feel like we covered a lot and a good amount about the Wangs Palooza and all that. I feel like I want to talk about you and just like you're creative. I feel like you're really a creative person. Like at the end of the day, you were showing me like some Wangs vintage hats that with the low profile. So I'm like, oh yeah, this dude. And then like all the film camera, we chopped it about films.
Again,
what are you into most? Is it like the photography film?
I would say guitar? Now, dude, I am into a lot nowadays. And it's kind of just because when you're in here, you're surrounded by so much inspiration all the time. Like, you know, you're buying shirts from your favorite bands, and with each band shirt, you get a little insight on the creative process that they went through in that time they were making music. So I feel like there's just so much inspiration in here. It's hard not to do something with it. And I've always loved photography. Long before vintage clothing, I was shooting film photos since I was like 12 years old, like straight up. Rest in peace, my man, Christopher Magneff, Krill. He put me onto photography back in the day, and I just haven't gone back. So that's been the creative outlet that I used to not. I mean, now I sell a lot of cameras, and I do film development and all that.
Yeah, you develop in the store.
This is the studio, straight up. Dude. Yeah. It's out of just quickness, but that's kind of my way of expressing myself immediately, and also documenting. I think everything happening right now, it's taken for granted how sick it is. Like, I don't know how long all of this is going to last. Sometimes it feels like a dream because it is mad chill. It's a pretty unproblematic life to lead, and I'm
That's
blessed.
Awesome.
I always say count your blessings and just appreciate the moment. So that's why I take so many photos, bro, is because and I take so many film photos because film has a tendency to just last longer. I'm never going to delete the hard drive that these are on because they're not on a hard drive. They're in my drawer. You know what I mean? My house has to catch fire if those memories are, you know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense. It's totally like the opposite way of thinking, how we all think like, oh, I can just put it on my computer and be here forever.
Yeah, nope, bro. No. Not if your computer crashes or like so I want them around forever, and I want to document it as thoroughly as I can. And I think we all get caught up in the everyday life and the moment, which is good. It's good to live in the moment, but I also think it's really important to be a forward thinker. And I'm working on a project right now for I have my own LLC called Viz Ability that handles just straight film production and promotion through film photography and videography. But amidst that, I want to do a project called Future Favor, because future favor, that's just, I just call those images. Like, you're take photos now because you're going to thank yourself later.
Oh, it's
that's
a favor for
you know,
the
you're
future.
doing yourself a favor later. And so I think it's important, just, you know, take as many photos of everything, of your friends, of your family, of your dog that you might have, your room right now, bro. Because when you're looking back in 20 years at your old bedroom, on, like, you're gonna be tripping.
It's gonna mean something.
It's gonna mean something. You're gonna show your kids, and it's just, you know, it's good to not regret things. And I hate looking back and being like, damn, I wish I took my camera that time. And, you know, just take photos. It's important.
Right.
So
Also,
that's one side of it. I mean, there's a lot though.
And what you said about just you being surrounded by all this every day, sparking your own creativity is like, I know that has to have such an impact, because I just recently started getting into records.
Yeah, man.
So like I got the record player and I'm like buying all these old records, and it's just like, just really hits for me. So, and then it helps me like even create, just come up with different stuff. So I know you're like in your bag.
I would say, bro, yeah, like if you want like to be creative, because I feel like for a lot of cats that's the first, like, you're almost angry at yourself, like you're like, why don't I have anything to like come up with, or to put out, or to draw, or write? Where is the inspiration? And it's just go listen, you know, take a step back, go put your favorite record on, and go put your favorite movie on, and turn the volume all the way down, and just chill, and like sit with a notepad in front of you, and you're gonna get, something's gonna hit you. And even though it might be a little contrived because you got it from whatever scene you were watching, or whatever the lyrics your favorite artist just said, that might be the next step to create your own good idea. And I don't know, nowadays everyone's scared to replicate or copy somebody else's style, but
everything's already been copied already.
Everything. There is zero originality out in the world, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner you start working. That's when you're like, oh, bet.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like that's really the people that are not like. You can't be. It's just the working part. They're scared to get to that part. You know,
because the working's the hard part. You know, the ideas are dope, but following through with them that separates the men from the boys. You know, like. Even your guys' setup is a nice setup. This is, you guys came correct with the setup of it. You got multicams. Like, a lot of cats will do the bare minimum and get mad when it doesn't take off. But it's like, again, it's not good enough to be really good. You gotta be cool. You know, gotta have the connections. You gotta have the personality. So with that, I don't know. I would just say surround yourself with physical things you like, books and covers and artwork. Put your T-shirts on the wall. Buy T-shirts and clothing that means something to you. Put them in your face, because, you know, all your favorite albums sitting on your iPhone,
it's not the same.
You're not You're not picking them up. You're not looking at them, and you're certainly not listening to them in their entirety. That's the biggest thing. Is I think listening to albums fully is
changed.
It's a whole different way to experience the music. But nowadays, things are too quick. You know, nobody even listens to full songs anymore. You'll skip it halfway through, and it's because you have the luxury of doing so. But I don't know.
Do you find yourself kind of falling into those things too? Like, I find myself like only listening to certain songs from the album. Sometimes I still download the whole album, but that's how I grew up though.
Best believe when I'm in my car, I'm not, you know, playing albums unless I'm on a road trip. When I'm on long road trips, I will totally make a point to be like, all right, I'm going to listen to these 3 albums, and that'll get me to LA straight up in order. And even if I don't like the song, I'm going to listen to it because it's part of the overall flow of the whole album. Led Zeppelin, back in the day, they never released any singles at all. They only released albums, which financially was business-wise, that was a crazy decision, because that's how you made money, was selling your single songs. But they were like, nah, you got to listen to our whole thing or you're not listening to it at all. And I thought that was cool. It's like, you don't get to just, you know, like...
pick and choose.
Choose, man. That's not how it works. You take it like the Bible. Sorry, I don't know why, but that analogy, I know, but I know, hey, but that analogy, you can't just pick and choose things from that. You're either with it fully or, like, you know, but because there's a lot of crazy stuff, but you can't, also like R. Kelly, you can't love, you know, I Believe I Can Fly, but, you know, not acknowledge the bad side of it. And that's the best way to form a thorough opinion on something, is take it all, hear it all out, you know, even if it sounds crazy, at least you said, all right, well, I gave it a shot. It wasn't for me. But you don't get to say that if you didn't get to give it a shot, you know.
You record too, right? I think I was chopping up with the other Noah.
Yeah.
And he was telling me you guys were recording some stuff.
Yeah, we again the little back studio. That's just another
homies,
creative outlet. Just turn my brain off, turn my phone off, most importantly, and just sit back and see what hits me. And having a proper setup and a recording setup has helped, because now I get to again document it. I can't tell you how many songs I've written and just completely deleted because I was like, well, you know, I'm never gonna put it out, but I don't know. It's good to just do anything, do a little bit of everything, because you'd be surprised what your actual passion is. I've listened and been a music fan for all of my life, like a proper like nerd about certain music, but I never played guitar up until when COVID really hit. And I think it was because I had time, you know what I mean? Like, I finally had time to sit down and learn and take it seriously, because I really try not to half-ass anything. So yeah, it took me 21 years to find out that I love making music, and just goes, it's not too late at any point, you know? And even my pops, he just bought a 1972 old Honda motorcycle. It's fresh as hell. He's never ridden a motorcycle in his life.
Damn, that's a big one, too.
I know, and I was like, take your helmet. Anytime I see him trying to leave without a helmet, I'm like, bro, like, don't even just wear the... But it's also cool, because I'm like, damn, you just turned 52, I think. I don't even know, honestly. But you're still finding something that you're getting into, and still things are fresh and new to you. And I think it's just important. You never want to get too complacent, because... You know, just because you might not think it's your style, you might be closing a doorway that could lead you, you know, who knows where. Yeah.
I mean, I think you guys are really living the, like, wake and grow, like, literally, like,
every day,
to the core.
To the core, bro.
So what's the future you feel like for the Wangs brand? Like, just any next steps? Like, I seen like the shoe cleaner.
Yeah, we do little products here and there. That works, you know, but for the shop, we're just going to keep opening spots, I think. Like, we're definitely not done. I would say we're probably done with Arizona, if anything. And,
right.
You know, and we're probably done with the West Coast, if anything. We're talking about a lot of cool things. Nothing's in motion yet, but if we did anything else, it would be gnarly. You know, we want to really just go for it. Because my mentality, while I'm all about forward thinking, in a way, it's funny, this is a contradiction to itself, but like, I want to go hard now because I don't know how long we're going to be able to go hard at all, you know? So while I don't like to live in the moment, I'm still aware that that's the best place right now, because who knows? I can't tell you what's going to happen in 10 years with all these World War III talk going on, and
right.
just even the U.S. government. I just personally don't have a lot of faith in like society, as sad as that might sound. So for that reason, and that goes for anybody, just go as hard as you can, I think, because who knows what's going to happen, and you don't want to regret anything when the time comes, you know?
I felt that. Was there any, you said you had some pieces you wanted to kind of show off? I don't know if you ended up grabbing them.
I don't know. I mean, film cameras, we could show film cameras. I could show some crazy archive kind of shirts that, I mean, we could bust out some gnarly T-shirts if you want to look at some vintage pieces, like shit that's not in the shop, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a couple of your favorites, like two of your favorites.
All right, let me go grab them.
Yeah, we'll cut this part.
Yeah. Here, let's go smoke. Let me go smoke.
All right.
Grab some shirts and we'll chop it up.
Camera's about to die.
Oh, you want to do it? Let's do it.
No, let's
just go.
Low-key just end it right here.
All right, yeah, we could just.
Yeah. Sure. So, yeah, basically the camera's about to die. I appreciate you, man.
My guy.
Thank you a lot.
For real. As always, man.
It was a great story.
Anytime. Let's do a follow-up episode. Fuck it.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do the vlog so we can show off the the stuff at a later time.
Well, appreciate you guys coming by, and thanks for having me on. This is dope. I can't wait to see it.
We out. Gang.